Decided here potentially, and the Augie chants are roaring out of the flash mob.
And after the crowd chants your name, you can't put it into the net. And that missed return would give way to a game point for CJ Klinger against Augie Guh, and CJ would find a way.
And that will do it, hustling their way to their dreams.
So as you can see, it was quite the week in Dallas for the Major League Pickleball playoffs. This was round 1. We're going to get through all the action. We've got a lot to talk about, but first, do please consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel, maybe even send it to a friend, and if you're shopping for any pickleball needs, check out pickleballcentral.com. You can use the code MattyP1124. That's now MattyP1124. And somebody go use this. Let me know if it works. I don't even know what it does, but it's supposed to work. So let's dive right back in. We'll start with the Atlanta Bouncers versus the Las Vegas Night Owls, and we'll be having some real clear stats data to help us break down this matchup. Men's doubles, we have Blaine Hovenier and Rafa Hewitt of the Las Vegas Night Owls trailing against Jaume Martinezovich and Todd Fote. Here, Jaume is going to get a nice high ball right on that forehand, puts that away. They actually had a game point, didn't close it out, and on 23-24, Jaume misses a return. However, they did earn another game point after Todd Fote generates this error off of Blaine Hovenier, and at 25-24, with a little bit of help off the net.
Oh, and a ball off the tape.
So Atlanta just narrowly edged out Las Vegas for game 1. Largely thanks to the incredible play of Jaume Martinezovich. He was nearly flawless in 118 shots. Only 2 of them were unforced errors and another 5 were forced errors, overall giving him just under a 96% accuracy rate, which led all players. Both teams got to the kitchen at a similar clip, were incredibly competitive when they were there, and both teams found a lot of success with their speed-ups. This one easily could have gone any way, but Atlanta took the 1-0 lead into game 2. Let's see how the women did. Women's doubles was an interesting matchup. Zoe Wong and Judith Castillo definitely the favorites against Susanna Barr and Emily Cederquist. I feel like both teams kind of knew this, and that's why Atlanta decided to just kind of go for it. They took almost a YOLO strategy. There were a lot of unforced errors that came with it, but they did generate a lot of offense off it too. We're going to take a look at the real clear stats data in a second and just see how many unforced errors they had. It actually was quite astounding. But despite all of these errors, Atlanta has a chance to win this game. Atlanta trailed by 22-14 late in the game, but they're going to get into a little bit of a firefight here. They're going to take this exchange. Here, Cederquist is going to step in, get a nice aggressive dink, get the pop-up, get the put-away. They are grinding their way back into this. Susanna Barr taking those big swings again. You know, she put a lot in the net. She put a lot wide, but they were going for it, like I said. Emily Cederquist really carried this. She did her best there. A nice pickup off the net. Here, a lob, getting a put-away. You're never quite out of it in rally scoring with the win-on-serve requirement. Here's Susanna going to activate. This is the offense. This is the risks you take. This is why it pays off. Las Vegas with one of several game points they had, but Cederquist able to angle this one off nicely, putting it out of reach of Judith. And at 26-26, we'll speed this up here. They are just going to one more ball their way into a rally win to earn a game point of their own. Trying to work their way up to the kitchen, an unfortunate unforced error from Cederquist would tie it up at 27-27. Then a missed return from Susanna Barr, and at 28-27, game point for Las Vegas. Susanna Barr had 135 touches. 14 of those were unforced errors. And they still almost won somehow. Emily Cederquist played incredible, lights out, 94% accuracy. Las Vegas was much better at getting to the kitchen. However, Atlanta actually did better in those rallies when all 4 players got to the kitchen. Atlanta outperformed on speed-ups, firefights that they initiated, and on firefights that the Las Vegas Night Owls initiated. Their counters were more successful. Still, you just can't quite overcome that many errors. 19-19, Zoe Wong serving Rafa Hewitt, her partner, up against the undefeated unit of Jaume Martinezovich and Susanna Barr. Here, a little firefight. Some nice resets from Rafa, doing all he can, but Jaume, once he gets it on that big forehand, you're not seeing that one again. Not the sharpest game from Zoe Wong. She had quite a few errors, and here floats a dink. Jaume able to attack that. Las Vegas serving at 22-23. Rafa drives. Zoe looks like she was moving into the transition zone, trying to be aggressive, gets punished, pops it up a little bit, which starts some scrambling defense where Rafa just absolutely maniac takes over, maybe tries a little too much. At 24-23, this is game point. We would get into the longest rally of the game, not just because we were dinking though, just because Rafa's resets were absolutely incredible, although we do settle into a little bit of a dink off here. We're going to get the ladies going at it. And another speed up from Rafa, which is ultimately reset as well. Back into the dinking where we're going to get one last trigger pull from Zoe Wong.
And Zoe pulls it wide.
Elena took the first mixed matchup once again thanks to the strong play of Jaume Martinez-Vic, but also this time it was Zoe Wong with 12 unforced errors. Las Vegas just never really found their groove in getting to the kitchen on their serve. Atlanta, on the other hand, was able to get there almost half the time, and when they did get there, Atlanta just had a narrow edge, winning 7 of those 13 kitchen rallies. On to game 4, mixed number 2. Las Vegas needing the win to force the Dreambreaker, trailed 15-8 at one point, but they could not complete the comeback. Too good from Atlanta. Las Vegas trailed the whole way, but Judith came on strong down the stretch. Her speed-ups were incredibly successful. You can see here in our Player Impact Plus chart. Again, Player Impact Plus, just a quick at-a-glance stat. It is 1 point if you hit a clean winner, plus 0.75 points if you force your opponent to commit an error, minus 0.25 points if you commit a forced error, and minus 1 point if you commit an unforced error. So it's just at a glance telling us who impacted the game positively or negatively. And with charting it over time here, you can see it really was Judith coming on strong down the stretch that helped Las Vegas close the gap here. However, they just weren't quite able to get over the hump, and Atlanta takes the first match. Now, of course, these are best of 3 series, so here we actually are just a few hours later on the same day, and Atlanta is going to once again take the men's doubles game. Jaume Martinez-Vic was the standout player. The bouncers were very successful when they got to the kitchen, winning 9 of those 15 contended rallies. Their speed-ups and firefights they initiated were very successful, proved to be the difference. Las Vegas would strike back just like they did in match 1, and we would be tied up at 1-1 heading into mixed doubles with a nice ATP winner from Judith. Susanna Barr did clean it up. She had 14 unforced errors in the match number 1. This time she only had 3. However, Zoe Wong played lights out. Las Vegas won 7 of the 10 firefights that she initiated, and they won 8 of the 12 kitchen rallies. Trailing 20-24, Las Vegas had already saved 1 game point. Emily Cederquist tries the down-the-line speed-up on Blaine Hovenier. He says, "No, thank you, ma'am." Then after a missed return, we're going to see Emily Cederquist try this same spot on Blaine Hovenier, speeding up down the line at his backhand, but just like the previous time, he is all over it. 23-24, Blaine Hovenier is going to try a little drive-drop combo. Maybe leaves a little high, gets a little help off the net, gets the put away right through the 5-hole of Todd Fote. Tied up now at 24-24. Judith gets the put away. They were down 20-24. They have completely flipped it around with a game point of their own. We're going to get into a little bit of dink rally, but Emily Cederquist is going to try an ill-advised lob. In mixed number 1, it was Las Vegas coming away with the win. Both teams got to the kitchen about half the time when they were on serve. However, once they got there, Las Vegas absolutely dominated, and it was because their counters were just too good. Atlanta was trying to get the offense going with those speed-ups, but it just wasn't happening. Atlanta only won 18% of the firefights that they initiated, whereas the Night Owls won half of the firefights that they initiated. Mixed 2 was tightly contested, but ultimately Jaume and Susanna were able to come through and force the Dreambreaker. In the clutch 4th game, it was Jaume Martinez-Vic, who, by the way, last week I did some awards with Eric Tice on a little mini podcast. Check that out. Jaume was Eric's pick for MVP, and he really showed up in the clutch in this game. You can see here his player impact plus just skyrocketed towards the end of the match. Both him and Rafa had very good games. Every 11th touch was a rally winning shot for these two men. That brings us to the Dreambreaker. We start off with Blaine Hovenier for the Las Vegas Night Owls in pink against Todd Fote and the Atlanta Bouncers, and Las Vegas definitely has the edge when it comes to women in this Dreambreaker, so Atlanta needs their men to step up. Blaine Hovenier getting Las Vegas out to a 4-0 lead. That lead would hold until late. However, what's great about these Dreambreakers is just because you get 4-0 doesn't mean you're out of it, especially when you have the same matchups coming around again later. Here we have Todd Fote getting one off Blaine Hovenier, and on 16-17, he's going to rush in, get that one down the line on the run. We have a tie ball game at 17-17. The team loves it. So this is right where you want to be if you're Atlanta. Jaume Martinez-Vich, your ace singles player, up at an 18-18 game. Need to go close it out, but Rafa Hewitt is no slouch, getting the win there. And 19-18, just outside of the reach of Jaume. He is fired up and on match point. After all that running, Jaume would go on to miss his next serve, which set up a match point for Las Vegas on the ensuing rally, which is, of course, exactly where you don't want to be if you're Atlanta. With the Las Vegas women a chance to close it out, Judith is going to find a two-handed backhand down the line past Emily Cederquist. We are going to a third match.
Saves her team's season.
MVP here might have to go to Rafa for splitting 6-6 with Jaume. So in the deciding match 3, it was a pair of blowouts to start off in both men's and women's doubles. In men's doubles, it was a 25-9 beatdown. Blaine Hovenier struggled with just an 85% accuracy. That means about 15% of his touches were errors, either forced or unforced. Jaume Martinez-Vich, the whole match, only had 2 errors, and he had 9 rally-winning shots, 1 rally-winning shot every 10 touches. Blaine Hovenier generated no offense, 0 rally-winning shots. Atlanta won a staggering 13 of the 15 kitchen rallies in this match. In women's doubles, it was the Zoe Wong show. She had a 96% accuracy. She had 11 rally-winning hits. Again, her speed-ups were very successful. Both Barr and Cederquist struggled on the counters. Atlanta was able to win the first mixed doubles game. It was not particularly close. Both Susanna Barr and Jaume Martinez-Vich playing incredibly clean, winning 8 of the 13 kitchen rallies, getting there almost 60% of the time. And on the other end, it was another tough outing for Blaine Hovenier. Las Vegas trails 20-22. They, of course, need to win this game to force the Dream Breaker. And what a time for Rafa Hewitt to find the ATP. Both coaches looking on intensely. 21-22. We get this moment from Zoe Wong and Rafa Hewitt.
Las Vegas ties it at 22.
Tied up at 22-22, we get an unfortunate time for an unforced dink error from Zoe Wong. And hey, you get one unforced dink error, let's just make her do it 30 more times. See if we can get another freebie out of it. Zoe holds up good on this point, but after a speed up off the bounce from Todd Fote, a let cord, an inside-out forehand dink from Rafa Hewitt. Zoe's speed up goes deep, and the Atlanta bench is fired up. They are 1 point away from winning the entire series, and on match point, series point, Atlanta is going to get right back into that same pattern. Let's just dink it to Zoe's backhand, make her beat us there. It takes Rafa out of the game. Maybe we get a free error, and she's going to get a little bit too aggressive on this next two-hander.
Bouncers are moving on to the semifinal.
So there you have it. The Atlanta Bouncers are the first team not only to make it out of the quarterfinals in the MLP playoffs, but they are promoted. They will be in the Premier League next year. Don't really know how that's going to look. How will that work? Do they keep all their players, just 3? I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But for now, we've got to get into the next matchup. Now, Miami won the first match pretty handily. There's only one game that was really even close. So we're going to jump right ahead to a match 2, do or die Dream Breaker. Frisco has to win this Dream Breaker to force a match 3. Otherwise, their season is done. And after Michael Lloyd got off to a 4-0 start against Noe Cliff, it was Eric Onsens who 4-0'd Stefan Auvergne right back, tying this up heading into the first series for the women. At 5-4, Bobby Oshiro sees this ball out, but upon further review, thank you close call replay, we can get that sorted out. So after the first go-around, Michael Lloyd finds himself trailing 6-10, even though he is now 5-0 versus Noe Cliff. He is trying to single-handedly carry this team to Dream Breaker glory, and this was just a really fun matchup. Incredible court coverage, incredible shot making here. Noe Cliff somehow gonna find this one, curving it in. What a shot. And the rest of the lineup for Frisco just could not get it done. Here, Millie Rain's going to find the backhand winner, and on series point,
Millie Rain and the Miami Pickleball Club advance to Orlando. 2 match wins.
So there you have it. The Frisco Pandas could not recreate the magic from MLP Miami, where they defeated the Miami Pickleball Club. It was Miami winning 2-0, advancing. They will be the other team that is in the semifinals and will be promoted. And we've actually already got the matchups for the MLP Orlando playoffs in a few weeks. Chicago Slice will be playing the Atlanta Bouncers, and the SoCal Hard Eights will be playing the Miami Pickleball Club. Go ahead and drop a prediction for that one in the comment section. And now we can move along on to Premier League. But first, let me tell you about the Austin Pickle Ranch, 16 indoor courts here in Austin, Texas, owned, operated by my dad, who, by the way, might be making a cameo in this video. Stay tuned for that. If you're in town in Austin, consider checking us out up there. So yeah, let's talk Premier League. We will start off with my rivals, the Dallas Flash, who I hate, and we will be rooting hard for the New York Hustlers. Let's get into it. J.W. Johnson and Augie Go were able to get to a pretty comfortable win over C.J. Klinger and Jack Sock. Here we get into some dinking, a little bit of a firefight, and eventually Augie Go is going to find the ATP, which Jack Sock cannot handle. It takes us to women's doubles. Hurricane Tyra Black and Georgia Johnson had a game point. It looked like Dallas might just cruise through New York as many predicted, but after another dink into the net, all of a sudden it was 24-24. Leah Jansen and Jackie Kawamoto not ready to go out just yet. Here, Leah Jansen initiates the firefight, Jackie Kawamoto finishes it, and on game point, just like a few rallies ago, another little aerial dink into the net. New York found themselves with a 19-16 lead. This is very important for them because the next matchup with Georgia and J.W. Johnson in mix will be very tough for them. Augie Ga, however, absolutely took over in this little stretch here, just ripping some winners, ripping some drives, generating errors. And as he dodges this out ball, let's take a look back here. Hey, hi, Dad. That, of course, is my dad, one of the co-owners and co-founders of the Texas Ranchers, not only here to root for the Ranchers, but also the Dallas Flash are our rivals, guys. We've got to root against them. There can only be one team in Texas, and here comes C.J. Klinger trying to play some hero ball. He's going to pay the price. Doesn't quite work out for him there. And on a game point for the Dallas Flash. So this one's over. J.W. Johnson and George Johnson would cruise to an easy victory over Jack Sock and Leah Jansen, except wait a second. What's going on here? What's going on with the score here? This is supposed to be an easy win for J.W. and Georgia Johnson. Jack Sock's not supposed to have that. Jack Sock's only won like 37% of his games in MLP this year. There's no way he's going to beat J.W. and Georgia Johnson, except here comes the Ernie with the backhand. Here, Leah leaves one a little high, but she's ready on the counter. They win the firefight, riding this cross-court dinking pattern. She's going to get a little bit of a kiss off the tape. Sets up beautifully for the ATP. And 24-13 missed return since this one final. We have got a dream breaker. New York Hustlers probably have the edge here. They are pretty much drafted around the dream breaker, but it was a rough start for Jack Sock against J.W. Johnson. J.W. took a 3-1 lead early for the Flash. Up next, Augie Ga versus C.J. Klinger, two guys who definitely aren't really known for their singles, but finds a tough spot there for CJ. There, he struggled with it off the net cord, and Augie Ga gets a 3-1 over CJ as well. That is 6-2 now for the Dallas Flash. New York definitely does not want this thing to spiral out of control. Here we have Leah Jansen against Hurricane Tyra Black. She's going to win the first two rallies, a little bit of help off the tape, and now we have the Dream Breaker singles rally of the event.
Oh my goodness, what a get from Tyra.
Just an absolutely amazing get from Tyra, the ATP. Leah Jansen, very lucky or fortunate that she did not give up on that rally just yet. That would have been quite the moment. And speaking of moments, Jack Sock with some kind of weird stab and gets like just the world's weirdest bounce right in the net. Nothing JW can do about that. All of a sudden, New York is right back in the mix here. Trailing 9-8. Jack Sock finds it with that big forehand. All of a sudden, Jack Sock has got this team out to a lead heading into the end change. Leah Jansen will get another 3-1 against Tyra, and eventually New York would have a 19-17 lead with CJ Klinger against Augie.
Decided here potentially, and the Augie chants are roaring out of the Flash mob.
And after the crowd chants your name, you can't put it into the net. And that missed return would give way to a game point for CJ Klinger against Augie Ga, and CJ would find a way.
And that will do it, hustling their way to their dreams.
After that gutsy Dreambreaker performance, we go on to match 2. Game 1 of match number 2 would prove to be an instant classic. Buckle up, folks, because this is going to be a long one. Dallas had a comfortable 19-15 lead. However, New York Hustlers started grinding their way back in, and they did it by relentlessly targeting Augie in long dink rallies. They decided to just try to take J-Dub out of it, make Augie beat you. At 18-19, tweener alert from CJ Klinger, keeping it alive. That was pretty awesome right there. Can they get the rally? Can they complete the clip? The answer is no. Jack Sock sends it deep. 18-20, again, just making Augie dink. He leaves it a little high. That's enough for CJ to strike. On the ensuing rally, we waste no time. We get right into the firefight, and after a quick exchange from all 4 players, CJ Klinger finds the winner just past JW Johnson. The Dallas Flash were the first team to earn a game point after this body bag, and at 24-21, Jack Sock finds it on his forehand once, he finds it on his forehand twice, and on the 3rd time, he says goodbye to that ball. 22-24. Jack leaves up a little high. Augie's going to strike, but Jack is there on the counter right here. On Dallas's 2nd game point, Augie got just wide, almost gets the clean winner. On Dallas's 3rd game point, they're going to once again settle into the same pattern, just peppering Augie's corner with dinks. Jack Sock is not known as the most patient player or the most consistent player, but this was probably as good as I have ever seen him play in these couple of matches in this event. And after a few more dinks, it is once again Augie Gus speeding up at Jack Sock, who is all over it. He has that sorted, gets it on the forehand. And ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. Once again, we are dinking at Augie. We are just waiting for a mistake, maybe a ball that's a little high, including this one. Backhand flick from CJ Klinger knocks JW Johnson's hat off. And at this point, it is safe to say that the New York Hustlers are fully committed to this strategy. Augie Ga is going to see pretty much every single ball from here on out, and it's going to be up to him to be the more consistent dinker in this matchup. We get the cross-court pattern going. He's going to mix it up, get Jack Sock involved. Maybe that's the play. He's not the most consistent dinker. Here we get a 51-shot rally tied for the 2nd longest rally of this game. We're going to see CJ Klinger pull the trigger on JW Johnson, and this is why they're dinking so much. It's not easy person to attack. CJ Klinger with another tweener, though. Can't quite keep it alive. At 27-27, Jack Sock speeds it up. JW Johnson is there once again, and on yet another game point, Augie Ga drives it into the net, giving us a reprieve from the dinking with just a 3-shot rally. Dallas Flash yet again. This is their 5th game point. Jack Sock finding the big forehand. 29-29. Working in a few more J-Dub dinks, and he leaves a little high. Jack Sock finally finds some success on the speed up at J-Dub cross court. Now it is New York Hustlers with the game point. Back to the old reliable strategy, and after CJ Klinger switches up the pattern, hitting it to J-Dub, it is Jack Sock dinking it into the net. At 31-30, another game point for the New York Hustlers. This time they don't even make it up to the kitchen. 3rd game point for the New York Hustlers. We have yet another 51-shot rally, and at the end of this one, Jack Sock sees the opportunity. He's going to take the speed up down the middle, and he is going to push it deep, just barely. CJ Klinger cannot believe it. At game point number 4, CJ Klinger sees the opportunity. And on game point number 5 for the New York Hustlers, we get into the granddaddy of them all. This is a 61-shot rally, the longest of the game, and lasted 1 minute and 4 seconds. Augie Ga saw 24 balls. JW Johnson only had 6 touches, and here is how it ended.
My goodness.
I have genuinely lost track at this point. I think this is the 7th game point for the Dallas Flash, and it is CJ Klinger cross-court attack with the backhand flick. Here we go with what I believe is the 8th game point for the Dallas Flash. Augie goes for the early speed up, which is neutralized. Jack tries to give it right back, but a few hits later.
JW Johnson puts his finishing touch.
37-35, that is the 2nd highest scoring Major League Pickleball match of all time. Of course, there was a 40-38 game that featured the Orlando Squeeze and the New York Hustlers earlier this season, but 37-35 on TV in the playoffs with Jack Sock. I mean, hey, way to go PPA, although there was a lot of dinking as we saw. In fact, shout out to Augie Ga. They were very clearly targeting him. He hit over 400 shots just in this match. Over 2/3 of the balls went to him. He did commit 8 unforced errors, but that's over 400 shots. That's like 3 whole games worth of shots. He definitely held up to the pressure of this big moment. In fact, everybody played really well. By the way, are we sure they're going to drop CJ Klinger at the end of the season? I don't think I would do that. Both teams were very effective at getting to the kitchen, and it was highly contested when they got there. That would have been a huge game if New York could have won that. But they lost it last time, and they still forced in one in Dream Breaker, so let's see how it goes for them in women's doubles. In the women's doubles game, the Dallas Flash would get up to a 10-3 lead. However, New York fought back, actually tied it up at 20-20 at one point, but ultimately just came up short, digging a pretty big hole here in match 2, needing both mixed just to force the Dream Breaker.
Tyra Black closes it out.
Dallas came out on top on firefights that Hurricane Tyra Black initiated, and she held up really well on her counters. In mixed number 1, the New York Hustlers, Jack Sock and Leia Jansen against Augie Gutt and Tyra Black were right there at 16-15. However, Dallas would go on a 9-1 run to close this out. Things just unraveling quickly for the Hustlers. Here we're going to see a drive and crash from Tyra Black and Augie Gutt to set up a game point. Dallas takes this one, and we get a match 3 on the following day.
Dallas has done it in front of their home crowd.
So as we can see, they could not quite recapture the magic, and unfortunately, I never saw match 3 get uploaded to YouTube, so I don't have highlights for that, but it was another sweep. Dallas winning 3-0. They advance. New York is eliminated. They'll have some interesting decisions to make in the offseason, and Dallas moves on to the semifinals. Now we will talk about the Texas Rangers. We start off with women's doubles. We have Tina Pisnick and Etta Wright for the Texas Rangers against Vivian Glossman and Rachel Rohrbacher of the DC Pickleball team. There, Rachel leaves it up a little bit high. Tina able to punish it. This match was tight until late, where the Rangers were able to build up a little bit of separation. This time it is Vivian Glossman leaving it up too high. Here we're going to get a dink into the net from Rachel Rohrbacher. And on the next rally, a game point for Texas. They are able to make it up to the kitchen line, and we're going to see Rachel Rohrbacher go for the speed up. However, she just pushes it a little deep. This one ends 25-21, Rangers up 1-0. So Texas took game 1 women's doubles against DC, largely thanks to uncharacteristic, unforced errors from Rachel Rohrbacher. She had 10 of them. However, she still almost scraped out a positive player impact plus score until the very end, at least. They did very well on the firefights that she initiated. However, as a whole, it's just tough to overcome that many unforced errors. We have Jumpin' Jimmy Ignatowicz and Deckel Bar of the DC Pickleball team up against Quang Duong and Christian Alshon. Quang Duong started off hot, generated a lot of errors off of James and Deckel with that big drive. Despite an early lead, DC would find their way back into the mix. Deckel Bar getting big in the middle, and here he's going to come over for a nice poach. Later, Texas, after the end change with an 18-17 lead, a drive-drop combo from Christian Alshon follows it up right down the middle. At 19-18, Quang Duong with the two-handed backhand angles this off nicely. Texas starting to separate themselves, 21-18. Here comes Christian Alshon crashing again, but James Ignatowicz is there in the counter. Quang can't quite fill in behind. DC managed to cut into that Texas lead, 23-22, and we get the longest rally of this game at just 28 shots. Generally, this was a pretty aggressive game from both sides. There were not a lot of extended dink rallies, and when there were extended dink rallies, you have Quang with that aggressive two-hand backhand roll. You have James Ignatowicz, who was maybe one of the first pros to really popularize that shot. And like I said, after 28 shots, all of them dinks, didn't really get into a firefight. We're going to get the missed dink from James Ignatowicz. That gives a game point to Texas at 24-22. Texas able to make it into the kitchen, something they don't always do, and we get the early trigger pull from James Ignatowicz, gets the error off of Christian Alshon. And once again, we get right into the firefight, not wasting any time with dinks. James Ignatowicz counter into the net, and here's an interesting moment. Just take a look at this.
Oh, coaching, flying out onto the court, Ryan. Back into your box, sir.
24.
Second try to close it out. Oh, my goodness.
You can't help but wonder if Alshon maybe overthought that one just a little bit. Anyway, on to the next rally, 24-24. Quang can't quite put it away, and Christian Alshon is going to come rushing in, attacking in the transition zone, and DC has a game point of their own. James is going to break out his two-hand backhand roll, leaves it just attackable, but Quang off the net, and that will do it. DC has tied this match at 1-1 heading into mixed. It is very tough to lose a game by 2 points when you miss 2 serves. Christian Alshon missed the very first serve of the game, and that clutch one late. Neither team really had too much success speeding up the ball. DC did have a slight edge in the kitchen rallies. This one easily could have gone either way, and it set the stage for a very important mixed number 1. We'll pick this one up after the end change. We have Texas trailing 11-14, and after a little ball off the net, James Ignatovich just going to blast this one right at Alshon, who almost gets it on the counter, and ultimately DC just ends up running away with this, giving them a 2-1 edge in the match. Mixed doubles number 1 was a bit of a stinker for Texas. Etta and Christian collectively only got 11 of their 17 third shots into play. You're not going to win many games when you do that. Christian Alshon also, I think, had the lowest accuracy percentage of any player I saw across any game this week at 83.5%. He had 91 touches, and 15 of those were errors, including 8 unforced errors. So, can Texas force the Dream Breaker? Looked like Texas had mixed 2 completely in control and that we were destined for the Dream Breaker. Here we get Quang Duong just taking over. Texas leading 15-8, and we're going to see Quang Duong keeping his foot on the gas, staying aggressive. Unfortunately, he plays the out ball, keeps it alive, dinks it into the net. Then, shortly after, Deckel, 2-hand backhand down the line winner. I did not know he had that in his game. DC starting to cut into this lead just a little bit. Deckel with the off-pace speed up down the middle. Nobody's home. Lets him know about it. The DC Pickleball team completely flipped this game on its head, now leading 19-17. Deckel bar once again right down the middle. Just stares him down. This was a game of runs. When things were going well, they were going well, and...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Quang Duong seems to have all the shots he needs, but sometimes the decision-making isn't quite there.
Why on earth is that ball going to Deckel?
But like I said earlier, this was a game of runs. When things were going well, they were going really well. And when they were not, well, they just were not.
Oh my goodness, 3 feet in their feet.
And after all of that back and forth, it is now Texas with a game point to force the Dream Breaker. We get Quang with a drive on the 3rd, on the 5th, then a drop. And this is just one of the weaknesses of this mixed team. They don't always get up to the kitchen line. Texas would, however, earn another game point where, again, we get the 3rd shot drive. We get the 5th shot drive, the 7th shot drive, and maybe an outball played by Tina. And speaking of outballs, DC at 26-26 gets Texas on the defensive. We are going to get an epic out call. DC back with match point on their paddle, and well, just watch.
Oh no! Clank in the middle!
Quang Duong started off so well before he cooled off just a little bit, and then it was the Deckel bar show. You can see here on the Player Impact Plus flow chart. He took over mid-game, got DC back into it. Quang played an incredibly aggressive game, as is to be expected from him. However, the firefights that he started, Texas actually had a losing percentage in those. Quang Duong took 18 of Texas's 26 third shots, and 17 of those 18 were drives. That's right, the man only did 1 third shot drop in an entire game. And it was DC who took a match 1 lead. They lead 1-0 heading into the next day for match 2. Let's do it. Etta and Tina were absolutely in control. Here, I don't even know who gets credit for this winner right down the middle. Texas leads 22-13, but once again, this game can be a game of runs.
Wow. DC ties it.
DC scrapped together an 11-2 run to tie this up with a little bit of help from some unforced errors from the Texas Ranchers women. And on the 24-24 rally, Rachel Rohrbacher dink is just wide. Now a game point for the Texas Ranchers. So this was another tight match that Texas just edged out. And Rachel Rohrbacher, a lot of unforced errors, 12 unforced errors in this match. She is taking 68% of all the balls that go to her side of the court, so she's going to have more. Vivian Glosman, 0 unforced errors. But as expected, Rachel also generating a lot more offense. Both teams got to the kitchen 71% of the time. We got locked into that cross-court dinking pattern, and Texas was able to win 56%. That is 18 of the 32 kitchen rallies, which ended up being the difference. So Texas up 1-0 heading into men's doubles. Let's see how it goes. The very first rally of the men's doubles game, we get Deckel Bar getting big, a little too big.
Fault. Left foot.
Deckelbar looked very surprised by that call, but nothing surprising here, seeing Christian and Kwong continue their hyper-aggressive strategy. Kwong driving everything, Christian crashing everything. And now we have the return of dink circles. People are calling these dinkin' dots. Call it what you want. I just find them incredibly satisfying. And you guys seem to like them, so I'm going to keep doing them. We have the battle of the two-hand backhand roll dinks. Who can put it deeper into that corner without giving up the ATP? James and Kwong are among two of the very best in the entire world at this shot, but it is Kwong who strikes first. Texas was able to ride that big early lead all the way to the men's doubles win. DC did make it interesting for a little bit, about halfway through the game, but ultimately came up short on the comeback bid. Texas able to go up 2-0 behind a very strong men's doubles game. And take a look at this, guys. The average length of a rally in this game was 8 hits. Remember that game we just watched that went 37-35 where it was Jack Sock and CJ Klinger against Augie Guh and J.W. Johnson? The average rally length was 16 hits. That is double the average rally length of this game. Two completely different styles. You had a very patient game in that one, and in this one, people were just going for it, and you can't blame them. The speed-ups were incredibly effective. Why would you sit there and grind out a long dink rally when your speed-ups are doing so well? Game 3, mixed number 1, Texas looking to close this out with a 3-0 sweep, but this matchup, the entire series was just amazing. There we get Deckelbar with the Ernie. DC leads by 1, 21-20, a missed return from Kwong Duong. DC, the first team with a game point here, but Vivian Glossman played so solid all game, but dink into the net here at a crucial moment. At 23-24, she cannot handle the Kwong drive. And this is why this matchup was so much fun. Tina and Deckel are just so familiar with each other's game, but they're able to still sneak a few shots on each other, pull a few surprises out of the bag. Now we have DC defending a match point, and Deckel breaks out the Ernie, and he was ready for a second Ernie. All knotted up again, and Vivian Glossman gets just a little bit of an assist from the top of the net. Another game point for DC. Deckel's going to try the speed up, but Tina is ready for it. Gets the counter right at his feet. That's a tough spot. He cannot handle it. Later, another match point for Texas. Tina into the net, and Ryan DeWidgeon smiling through the pain. A few rallies later, it is Texas with yet another match point, trying to close this one out. Does not want to see this get to mix 2. Does not want to see this get to a dream breaker, and hide up at 29. Let's get some more dink circles in here. After a few cross-court dinks with Vivian Glossman, Tina takes it out of the air, goes down the line, gets a net high ball, attacks it. What do you think? DC with another game point, and I talk about this shot all the time, but I just like it. It makes for really intriguing rallies there. Vivian fills in behind it, then Kwong and Tina just hit to the empty space. 31-30, we are still going here. We have another game point for DC. Deckel runs all the way over to take that third, then runs all the way back, but ultimately they do not make it to the kitchen. Now it is Texas at 32-31 with another match point, and Kwong Duong is all over this one, but he cannot get it over the net. DC serving for the game yet again, and while we're here, let's go and do a quick drop in on Deckelbar's serve. Yeah, guys, that's legal. Anyways, Texas has the high ground on return, trying to keep their opponents back. We're going to see Kwong Duong maybe just overextend a little bit too much and pushes it deep. Finally, this game comes to an end, and we are not done with this match just yet. So, not quite as high scoring as that Dallas Flash men's doubles game we just talked about, but 34-32 is pretty epic too, especially when the stakes are so high. Texas was actually the better team at the kitchen line. It's just they struggle to get there sometimes. This is now the third game that Texas has had a game point and hasn't closed it out. There were 2 games that they had a game point in the match they lost, the first match, and now in this one. If Texas gets eliminated this way, they are going to be kicking themselves for not closing it out when they had the chance. Let's see how mixed number 2 went. DC with an early 11-4 lead, starting to look like we might get that dream breaker after all. But hey, maybe that's just the theme of this episode, or at least this match. This is a game of runs. What an amazing pickup from Alshon, catching the back line. Hits him with the fist pump. With a combination of incredible shot making and unforced errors from DC, all of a sudden Texas rips off a 10-0 run. From down 4-11, they would be up 14-11. However, the match would remain tight the rest of the way. Here we are at 21-21. James tries the down-the-line two-handed speed up, but they lose the firefight. A few rallies later on Texas's 7th, maybe 8th match point, they are able to close it out. We are going to a deciding game 3. So Texas outlasts. They are going to force a deciding match 3, and how they do it? By just being patient. DC Pickleball team initiated a firefight once every 11 hits, whereas Texas only initiated a firefight once every 42 hits. Etta Wright played incredibly solid. Her player impact plus led all players in this match. James Ignatowicz started off incredibly hot, but his level fell off. Texas, as we mentioned, barely sped up the ball, and they limited DC's success when they did speed up the ball. So that would take us to a deciding match 3. Let's see how it went. Now, so far, Texas has won both of the women's doubles games. They are looking to keep that going here in the crucial deciding game 3. But, folks, say it with me again. Pickleball is a game of runs from 18 to 18 all the way to 24 to 20 in favor of DC. They won 6 of 8 down the stretch to earn a game point. And it may have been 7 of 9 if not for that pesky net. However, the net would prove to be an impartial participant, and on 22 to 24, the ball just sits there before deciding to come back over to the Ranchers' side. DC with another chance to close it out. Glosman tries to poach, can't get it, and on the ensuing rally, a little bit of middle ball confusion. We have a tie game. Etta Wright speeds it up, but Rachel Rohrbacher is there with an insane reset, dropping it into the kitchen. We settle into some cross-court dinking, and after switching up the pattern, going to Etta, she goes right back to the corner on Tina, gets the error, and this time DC is able to capitalize, and for the first time this series, they have taken the women's doubles point. So Texas drops women's doubles for the first time in this series, and why did that happen? Well, I think it's probably just because Rachel Rohrbacher did not have double-digit unforced errors for the first time in this series. That had kind of been the thing holding them back. She cleaned it up while still being able to generate offense. She actually had 15 rally-winning shots. That's a rally-winning shot every 12.5 touches. They won 52% of her speed-ups, another 24% were reset, and they only lost 24%. On to men's doubles.
We'll switch ends after this. Wind at the back of Deckel and Jimmy right now.
Now, the referee did not like the angle of the paddle head on the serve. We've slowed it down. We've taken a look. We've broken out the protractor. It's close. What do y'all think? They call the replay on this, but there's a little bit of foreshadowing for later. Now, on that serve, Kwong actually missed the return, and the Ranchers went on to win the replay rally, so a pretty big swing when the margins are so tight. James goes for the ATP. Deckel fills in nicely, able to get the put away. DC fans loving it. And on the other end of the spectrum, GM and coach of the Texas Rangers, Ryan DeWigen, is not loving what he is seeing. His team has dropped women's. They trailed 19-16 in men's.
Rancher Nation is concerned. 19-16.
Have you ever seen Ryan look like that?
But I'm going to continue to beat this dead horse. Pickleball is a game of runs. Deckelbar have been playing so well this entire series, but he had a stretch of 4 or 5 rallies where he had a few errors. He's going to leave one high that Christian Alshon is able to punish. And Texas flipped a 16-19 deficit into a 22-19 lead. A few rallies later, we had a tie match heading into mixed doubles.
And a blast of a two-handed backhand.
Things definitely looked very bleak for Texas, dropping the women's doubles game, trailing in men's doubles. But as good as Deckelbar started off, he just had one really tough stretch with a series of unforced errors and forced errors, as we saw, which probably ended up being the difference. On the very first rally of the game, Tina Pisnik is going to find the clean ATP winner, and Texas will get off to a 19-15 lead late where we pick this up. Glosman is going to sneak in a cross-court speed-up after an extended series of cross-court dinks, and Deckel is there on the counter of the counter. On the next rally, it is Deckel's turn for the ATP. Kwong setting him up nicely for that. Tina can't quite get it over the net. And then we get a missed return from Tina, and a few rallies later, a very short return, which Deckel is able to easily punish right down the middle. And remember that foreshadowing about Deckel's serve? You've got to imagine it is in the back of his mind that they are watching his serve, but on the ensuing rally at 23-23, Kwong Duong drive into the net. Game point, DC trying to go up 2-1, and Kwong Duong is going to maybe catch Deckelbar just a little bit flat-footed with that two-hand roll. 25-24, DC with another chance to close out this game, trying to work their way up to the kitchen and just can't quite get out of the transition zone. At 25-25, Vivian Glosman goes for a lob, does not work. They go for a challenge, really doesn't work. Texas with the game point, trying to get the 2-1 lead now, and Kwong Duong is going to get an out ball, but he cannot pull off in time. That thing was going to land 2 feet out. He sends his shot 2 feet out, and they're talking about it. Yeah, he knows it. Late in these matches, when these scores are tied, those rallies are so crucial, trying to earn the next game point. Texas is able to do it in the firefight, and
that sails deep.
so Texas just narrowly edges out DC in this one. And guys, every single game that Deckelbar and Vivian Glosman played against Tina Pisik and Kwong Duong required extra pickle. This was an epic matchup. It was so much fun to get to see this one 3 times, teams adjusting, figuring it out. And in this one, Declan, of course, is very familiar with Tina, and I think that showed. Look at how successful his speed-ups were. He won 77% of his speed-ups. And, of course, on the flip side, Tina and Kwong just had no answers on the counters. DC now needs to win mixed number 2 if they're going to force the Dream Breaker, where they probably have the edge. And just like how I was talking about how Texas is going to kick themselves, now DC has dropped a few games that they had game points in, and they do it. Texas up 12-10. Just before the end change, we are going to get an absolutely epic save from Etta Wright.
That is a great get from Etta Wright.
And after the net cord, we get another speed up from James Ignatowicz. We get a speed up from Etta Wright. We have just pure chaos on the court. You know Dave Fleming is just loving it. We've got one more net cord in us, which sets up the Etta Wright finisher, and Ryan DeWidgeon, the GM, says that's a clip. In fact, I've actually seen this reaction before at the lab when me and my 3-0 buddies had a 30-shot rally. Yeah. And in the end, DC really did need to win that first mixed game because they just never were able to get back into this one after Texas ran away with it.
And that will do it. Lasso up a spot in the semifinals, Texas Ranchers.
So a dominant closeout performance from Christian Alshon and Etta Wright. James Ignatowicz with an 84% accuracy rate. DC did not get to the kitchen nearly as successfully as Texas did. And Texas won 14 of the 21 kitchen rallies. This was as stress-free as a closeout game as you could have hoped for. I was certainly happy to see it. Did not like Texas' chances in a Dream Breaker, which means, of course, Texas has advanced to the semifinals. Let's take a look at the bracket. We have got the New Jersey Fives. They got to choose who they wanted to play between the advancing teams. They went with Texas. I think that was probably the right call. And then the St. Louis Shock will play against the Dallas Flash. Now, I'm sure I'm going to do a preview down the stretch later in the week, so keep an eye out for that. Let me know who you think is going to take those matchups, but that's all the time I have today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I hope you guys haven't already moved on to the next event, to PPA Worlds. We'll talk about that next week, but until then, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and yeah, thank you. Thank you.